If you're wondering what the Gene Keys is, the path of contemplation, or this mystical modality that gives you a profile to contemplate and discover yourself, then listen on to discover 4 foundational questions around embodiment through the power of contemplation in your Gene Keys profile. Allow your heart to listen. Welcome, I'm Nid, a soul guide, and in this video you're receiving 4 excerpts from myself appearing as a guest on the Gene Keys open call for those who are new to the Gene Keys. This is a call that they hold regularly, and they provided me this video to share with you some of the powerful transmissions that came through as part of that call. You will be hearing some foundational pieces around the Gene Keys, as well as some embodiment tips. And I love to use the Gene Keys as part of my group guidance program, Your Sanctuary, where you can tap into the Gene Keys if you wish and receive on-the-spot group guidance with me, as well as the embodiment practices that I share, relating them and connecting them back to our Gene Keys and how that can support you. If you'd like to watch the full video, then grab your profile and jump behind the YouTube membership area, or go to my app where you can watch it on your Sanctuary membership. Enjoy.
Said here, Nid, hi, I'm just starting with this work and find some of the information confusing. I recognize elements which resonate and others that seem alien. How best to begin this journey? Anything bubbling up there?
I'm intrigued as to what's confusing.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that actually comes to me is what part is confusing you, SKR. I sense the overwhelm factor sometimes can make things seem very confusing. And I've had clients in the past, they look at their profile and they'll say, what's the SQ? What does that mean? Like, why is that then? And going to the page, and I know Mark will bring it up, the page that has the introduction to your profile, where you can see, like, here's the spheres, here's the lines, these are the pathways, just to help you start to break down the information. That will simplify some of where you might be confused. And it could be that if you're trying to look at the key and the line and then understand where it is in your chart, that can definitely be very confusing and will make things seem really alien. The other thing I would say about if something does feel alien, I'm thinking about my own profile and whether or not when I was going through it, there were moments where I thought, I don't know if I recognize that fully in myself. And sometimes that's because either, you're not living so frequently in the gift, but actually what I found was that sometimes the programming partner helped me make sense of a key. And this is where it's really helpful to have a look at that page and the living library, because sometimes that can point you to things that are confusing that can help start to bring that resonance if there's something within your profile that seems alien. So I'm just trying to touch on what I'm guessing you might be confused and finding alien. But I'm going to let Mark carry on because he'll have the page to share you.
I think you did a great job right now. And SK, if you want to add some more details, if there are anything in particular, otherwise, Nid, you just covered the essentials. The quintessentials of the Gene Keys overwhelmment often comes exactly from that. I was asking, speaking about the body, what helps you to come into your body presence? So I know you do a lot of things, including breath work and all kinds of embodiment practices. So I want to hear that answer too.
Yes, I do many embodiment practices. And as I mentioned earlier on, I'm a real mover, always have been. It's always been the way in which I process. So I danced as a child, and And as I've mentioned, when I had my brain injury, actually, one of the key things for me was I had to move to help my body even process the trauma and the emotions that I was going through. So even if I didn't really have very much energy, I would still move. And so, you know, even just noticing the shape that you're in shifts your mood and what presence you're going to bring. So if I sit and I slump like this, I'm going to bring a different kind of presence to if I even just take a little stretch, maybe a little ease side to side, and then come in and just sit and see, okay, how's my body feeling? So that for me is a really simple one, is just actually noticing my shape and how is my shape making me feel? And maybe adjusting my body and just seeing if I can iron out some kinks. The other thing, this is one of my favorites, is I hold my hands. Now, I actually learned this as a lawyer. And it's a really grounding way to be really present and aware of your situation and what's going on, but at the same time, stay really grounded and connected in the body. The hands are very calming. And so that can be a really simple thing that you can do just to come into that body presence, because it's the feeling of touch. And we are bodies that really appreciate touch. And so just finding a way, even if your hands are like resting on your knees, or you can hold your hands, or you put one hand on like on an elbow, you know, but allowing yourself to feel touch is also a really simple way to come into body presence. And I also really like noticing my body touching the floor or my support, because that's really grounding and it brings me back to gravity and the fact that I am held by Mother Earth. So I'm not standing myself up, right? I'm not in a fight of any kind. I'm held. And that helps me drop and let go of a lot of what I might be thinking I need to carry. So those are my top favorites for quick shift. Actually, I like Johanna's comment about the internal family systems, because it reminded me that, so I am doing the Star Pearl, and so I've been having this exploration with this new program, and it tapped me into, I was doing some work with my culture sphere in the Pearl, and for me this is judgment, and I tapped into that shadow, and the request I had for her to, and she wasn't really a bodyguard, she was just a bit really critical, not even a bit, just like a real bitch, and really mean to me and really mean to everyone else. And so, you know, I asked, what could I do to help that shadow and support her? And she asked if she could have some friends to play with at the beach. And so I actually asked a couple of my friends if they would go to the beach with me and we could play for 10 minutes, so that all of our inner children could go and play there. And I could know that that part of myself that rears up with that key actually has a playful place, so that that shadow can enjoy and relax and not need to be so busy in my mind. And that was such a beautiful process. And that's a way, I guess, in which also you can see how, even if you're doing other therapy, if you've got other things going on, how the Gene Keys can support all those other processes you might be using and utilizing in your life to help with your healing. You can see sometimes where those parts are as part of your profile. You know, you can kind of get to know each of these little shadows is a different part of maybe some parts of your life, those experiences that are wanting to be taken care of, to take care of you, you know, whatever that relationship is that they need, that they're seeking, in order for them to quieten down and allow you to spend more time in your gift. That's what came through. So thank you, Johanna.
See, I knew there was something there.
Well, I've noticed that there's two questions that are both health related. Now, it's curious as to if there is a way to a bit skillfully look at both of them at the same time. So there was Johanna's question of, I heard in one of Richard's talks that the radiance is connected with health and vitality. What are your experiences with this? And then Istanikova, hi, I adore Gene Keys. I have gone through various teachings before, but here I stopped and breathed with keys. I have managed to do miracles thanks to Gene Keys for a while, but I'm still sick. My physical body gives me various signals, but I don't know how to read them. My mind controls me with anxiety. I don't know how to decipher it. Do you think it's just a matter of time? Hold on. Somewhere deep inside, I feel that I'm healthy, but on the outside, I don't feel that way at all, and I live in limitations. Is this the way? Can this be the path that will last for many years, or am I simply not understanding something? It's Seneca, it's really horrible when you're unwell for a really long time and your body has a very different time frame from the mind. And it's that process that we were mentioning earlier on about allowing the mind to drop into the body so that it can be guided by the body. And it's the body that will know where it needs to heal and how best to heal. And that will guide you to the things that will heal and support your healing journey. And it may be that there are parts of the gene keys that can help you access that dropping into the body, that releasing maybe some of a shadow, embracing a part of a shadow, and moving into that gift that then gives you that moment of, oh, maybe I go and try out this person to help me with what you're sick with, or just to support me feeling a little bit better. And then that person knows of some other modality, some other doctor. And so the synchronicities happen. And it's allowing yourself to drop into that body feeling of the keys that will open you up to having ideas that lead you to synchronicities. And yes, that can feel like it's taking time because it's very hard when you don't feel well to not just sit in the shadow. And I really, really recognize that, as I've mentioned. For me, I was many years not very well. And so for me, I had to really, and I didn't know at the time what I was doing, but I was digging into that, my evolution sphere, and really finding my strength to have my breakthrough. So it could be that for you, as we mentioned, that sense of structure in that activation sequence, that might be some structure for you to drop into and then see if that starts to open up those possibilities. And it's the body's holding right into some of those shadow frequencies that holds us in not feeling well. Quite often, there may be other things going on, but really, that is ultimately when we're in that heaviness, we hold onto it until we've got a resolution, and it will be at all the levels at which you need to understand and integrate for whatever the healing is as to why you're not well. And I would say that my first 4 years after my brain injury, I was probably living in the activation sequence and not knowing it. And it was when I really moved through that breakthrough line, and I can see this having done this process and looked at those patterns, as I said, that you can start to unlock within yourself where that guidance needs to take you. And that taps towards Johanna's question about radiance. Apologies, I'm starting to get a sore throat. I've been talking for about 14 hours today. So we want to, when we're not in that radiance, you may be unwell, right? You may find that your health is not as stable because you're not breaking through, right? You're probably holding onto more shadow than you need to be, and you're not really shifting yourself and having that breakthrough to make that transformation. that is really all those gifts that want to light up all of your being. And so my experience, as I've mentioned, is that experience through that first 4 years, definitely. And mine was, I sat with a 9, which is determination. So the determination that I was going to be healthy, healed, and whole. That was what I did for 3 to 4 years. That's all I held myself in, was that vision. I knew it was going to happen. I had no idea how long. And I held myself there. And the only way to do that for me was curiosity. And that was my radiance, is inquiry. And so just to sit and gently inquire with myself, what's next? What's happening right now? What does that need? Does that give me any idea? If it doesn't, I'm just going to sit with it and see what I need and allow whatever it is that might come along. So naturally, but using this structure is even more awesome because you guys even have the keys, right? And you have your own way that you can explore what's the wisdom in your keys in that activation sequence that may help support you and give you some of that structure to really step into who you're here to be and how you're here to live. And when you live from who you're here to be, you don't tend to get so sick because you're making all these choices that keep filling you with so much good energy that your body doesn't have that suppressed immunity, all of those niggles. And yeah, there might be niggles and body aches and all of the usual things because we're still using our bodies, but they don't have the same resonance, right? You shift, you carry on, you still have the energy, you still have all the resources and support. So just really opening, what are those real gifts that you have within that activation sequence? What is your life's work? What is that purpose? And really let that whole journey through that activation sequence really come alive within you. And I really do feel like there's a depth there that will unlock something within you, Istanikova, that will find the support for your physical body. Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting feeling. After hearing those words, I feel almost like even speaking after that is like walking into a sacred space with shoes on.
Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful day.